I purchased this Levoit air purifier 4 months ago, and I've been testing and running it basically non-stop this whole time. So I'm just gonna go over what I've learned from my 4 months of taking a deep dive into the workings of this purifier. But let's start at the beginning when I unboxed it as soon as I received it. It came well packaged with the instructions to take the filter out of the bag written clearly multiple times for you to see while unboxing the purifier. There's a story behind that, as there was a whole trend of videos going around of people who didn't realize and had been using these for months with the filter in a bag. Once you take out the main purifier out of the bag, you just twist it in the middle and the two parts can separate. Inside you will find the filter in a baggie and a power supply cord. If you take a look at the filter, you can tell it's got 3 parts to it. The outer protective pre-filter layer that's designed for bigger particles like lint and larger dust particles. Then the inner layer that removes particles larger than 0.3 microns such as pollen, pet dander, and finally an activated carbon filter that absorbs unwanted odors and fumes such as smoke, cooking odors, pet odors, VOCs. It doesn't matter which way you place the filter as long as you attach the 2 sides securely. Once that's done, you plug it in and you're good to go. The operation of this is super simple. You just basically have the power button. When you press it once, it'll turn it on to the slowest speed or sleep mode. Then, with each consecutive press, it cycles through the speeds until the last press turns it off again. When it's time for the filter to be replaced, the red light will turn on. Once you replace the old filter with a new one, you will need to reset it by turning off the purifier, and with the purifier turned off, you click and hold the power button for 3 seconds. Then the light will blink 3 times and turn off. That's basically all you need to know to operate this thing. Which brings us to how well it actually works and how loud it is. They claim that at the lowest setting, this thing runs at 27 decibels, and 44 decibels at the highest. So I decided to test that claim. The room I was in was at 20 decibels when nothing was on. I did 2 tests, one from 1 foot away and one from 5 feet away. So at the slowest speed at 1 foot away, the noise level was actually at about 22.5 decibels, and at 5 feet away, it was practically impossible to hear. So it was still showing 20 decibels. Now I will say with the sleep setting, the fan is not blowing a huge amount of air. But it's still a decent amount, and here's me holding a piece of paper towel over it on the lowest sleep setting to give you an approximate idea of how much air it's blowing. I was mostly using this on the 2nd speed, which looks like this. And at that speed, the noise level from 1 foot away is about 30.5 decibels, and at 5 feet away, it's 24.5 decibels. Now if you really want to circulate the air quickly, you will need to run it at its highest speed, which looks like this, and it really pushes a lot of air. And the noise level from 1 foot away was 38.5 decibels, and at 5 feet away it was 30.5 decibels, which is actually pretty good. I'm actually very impressed with the company because my tests show it's actually quieter than their measurements. So they must have taken their noise measurements from inches away from the purifier, which in my opinion goes to show that they were more interested in being honest versus trying to make themselves seem better. I did the measurements from 1 foot at the closest because I was thinking most people wouldn't be spending too much time closer than that to their purifier, and I wouldn't have blamed them for doing the same thing. Now, before I show what my filter looks like, I will say that my house is very clean because I have a dust mite allergy, so we have very little carpet and clean often. But this is still the amount of dust that collected over the course of a couple months. Here it is compared to a brand new filter. You can clearly see the difference. Now, this initial layer is just regular dust/lint, and you can use either a cloth or a vacuum to clean it up every so often. This is what most people show when they review this, but I wanted to see how much was actually in the internal filter. So I cut away the initial layer and looked underneath, and you can definitely clearly see millions of tiny particles all through the filter, to the point they have definitely changed the color. So my overall thoughts on this air purifier are that it's very well made. I like the way it looks, and the features it has are enough for me. I think they could have added a timer function to make it perfect all around, but that's not something I personally use. I really like the design of the essential oil aroma pad door, how it opens on the side and the pad is big and easy to remove for when you want to add oil to it or clean it out. The design looks sleek and modern. It's not an eyesore. The buttons on top turn off after 60 seconds, so if you don't want the extra glare coming from the purifier, that's a nice feature to have. I do think this filter does a good job cleaning the air. When you just turn it on with a fresh filter, the air coming out of it smells so fresh and crisp. And looking at the filter and how much residue it has, I can understand why. My allergy symptoms have dropped off since I bought air purifiers, but this is not the only one I use, so I can't attribute all of it to this one. I do feel like it's doing its part, but all of this is just a long way of saying I do like this air purifier and I think it's worth a look.